gotta love that Oaklander. Wanna see that Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Piece of heaven with our new exit on 287. We can be seen on channel 20. That's our TV. Oaklander, gotta love that Oaklander. Wanna see that Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Love it. Catch our balls.
Good evening and welcome to the Oaklander. I'm your host, Al DiGiacomo. In the not-so-distant future, automobile drivers in New Jersey will be facing some dramatic changes when they take their cars to state inspection centers. The new law mandates stringent emissions testings that some say is badly needed to keep the air we breathe clean. Yet others who have researched the law have found many startling facts written into SCS 1700 to support a repeal of it, citing many abuses to private property rights. Others say it will do little to clean the air in New Jersey. Butch DeZuzio and Rich Demansky are president and vice president, respectively, of the Classic Vehicle Advocate Group. Their organization represents over 1,000 active members in 7 states. I know many people have seen a show that we ran last year on this subject, so I'm glad to have both of you here to update the situation on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I welcome you to the Oaklander. Butch, tell our viewers what enhanced emissions testing is.
Well, basically in New Jersey, we started out with the tailpipe test. Enhanced emissions is supposed to do the test faster, more efficient, and better. And it really does none of those things. It started out with the IM 240 program and has now evolved into the ASM 5015, which is the same exact program with different software. It is neither more efficient or more better or clean the air, even as well as the old tailpipe test. And it's much more burdensome on the driving public, because now it has to be done on a dynamometer. A lot more time and a lot more testing, a lot more chance for failure.
What are they expecting the failure rate to be?
30%.
30%, Rich?
Correct. 30%.
How many drivers do we have in New Jersey?
5.9 million.
So we take 30% of that. That's quite a number of cars that are be taken off the road.
Correct.
Now, I know some people may be thinking that some of these cars maybe should, if you get back to somebody who's really doesn't have an oil ring left in their engine, you know, I mean, you guys don't
No.
think that those cars should be at?
They should. They're real clunkers, and the real cars that should be taken off the road should be taken off the road. We're fully in agreement with that. But the average public does not drive those kind of cars. The average public does maintain their car pretty well. An obvious smoker or one that has very high pollution and it's not going to be repaired, it's not worth spending the money on,
Sure.
should be off the road.
Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that these waivers, how many waivers will there be, and what's a requirement to get a waiver?
Okay, the waivers that are allowed by the federal rules, which is the federal EPA itself, they are allowing us 3% for the state of New Jersey. For the entire motoring public of New Jersey is 3%. But according to DMV's paperwork, it states in there in order to require the waiver, you have to spend at least $200 on repairs the first time, plus pass the emissions test. Then you can maybe if you're within the lucky 3% of the waiver rate itself. But come January 1st of the year 2000, then it's required that you have to spend up to $560 for the waiver.
And is this an arbitrary number, or this is built in?
This is built in.
How do they come up with a built-in failure rate?
Well, they started, originally what they started off back in February of '93, they came out with a booklet from the federal EPA stated as the 4-mode steady state test. It stated in there, and also it's the same exact thing as the IM240 with the failure rate. It starts from 10% all the way up to 48%. But the state of New Jersey is just going to use 30% for their leadway.
And the sad part is, it's not even a real 3% waiver because it's cumulative. If your registration is due in January, February, March, you may get this 3% waiver. But near the end of the year, they're out of waivers because
Right.
they're not going to separate months. They're just going to give 3% cumulative. Now, I don't see how anybody, I mean, that's not a fair figure at all.
Well, you guys have been working through this for many years, and there seems to be every 9 months or a year, there's a little bit of a change or an update to more or less pacify a certain group or to make it seem a little less odious. What happens if your car fails?
Well, once your car fails, like I said, that's when the waiver is supposed to kick in. But the thing is, there's so much of a limitation.
Waivers are gone.
Yeah, the waivers are gone. So what do you do? The people are going to suffer. They're going to be losing their registration, denial of registration right there.
And what happens when you're denied a registration?
Well, in this New Jersey law, it's illegal to own a car that is not registered or insured. Now, as of January 1st, '98, you will not go and get your registration through the mail like normal. What will happen is they'll send you a letter saying to go to your inspection station. The car will be tested there. If the car fails, you do not get that registration. You have to go back to a repair shop. Now, the problem is the repair shops did not have the money, $35,000 to $55,000 for the dynamometers, so they can fix the car or try to fix the car, but they have no way of really testing it. So you go back to the state. And if you pass, that's fine. You get your registration. If you fail, you go back to the garage. But you pay again because it's not the garage's responsibility. They don't have this type of equipment to check.
Right.
So they'll try again. Now, after the third time, the car is subject to impoundment at the discretion of the Department of Motor Vehicle because you don't have a registration. Now, say you say, well, I'm going to keep this car 6 months or a year, and I'm going to repair it later when I have money. It's illegal. You can't even put it in your garage. It's illegal to own a car that is unregistered.
It's New Jersey statute.
That's a New Jersey
And
statute.
this goes back years.
Yep.
Everything gets tied into something.
Yes.
And yeah.
Everything connects.
It all fits in together if you can see the big picture. The same thing with the remote sensing. This isn't new. We only found out about it recently. Remote sensing is being done by used aircraft out of Santa Barbara, California.
Aren't they the one who are manufacturing this equipment?
Yes.
And General Motors owns used aircraft in Santa Barbara, California.
Now, wait. Hughes Aircraft manufactures the equipment.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Smog Dog, it's called.
Smog Dog.
Right.
And General Motors
Owns it.
owns Hughes.
Comfy, isn't it?
And they're looking to take off 30% of the cars.
Not only just that, the four-year-old and newer cars are not subject to remote sensing because they feel the car should be in good enough shape as to pass inspection no matter what. So imagine them having that market. Your cars that you make for 4 years are free no matter what. And everybody else, though, is subject to remote sensing. Good deal if you can get it.
It surely is.
It's actually taking people out of cars.
Yeah, and that's what their stated intention was.
Which would not be bad if when 40 years ago, they had the thoughts of having mass
Yeah.
rail systems and monorails for moving people
Yes,
efficiently around. That hasn't happened.
No.
There's been some sort of mass transit to Hoboken or something like that, but I know that there are not many trains that would take me from where I live to my job.
Right.
What about you guys?
Same
thing.
And plus that, aren't we guaranteed a freedom of mobility in this country and personal transportation, and that's what our cars are? You like that little time in your car by yourself, 15, 20 minutes travel time, so you can get your thoughts together and you can listen to the radio, whatever it is you want to do. It's your time. You can't do that on a bus or a train.
Yeah. I'm not against mass transit.
Neither am I.
And-
Neither am I.
But I don't wanna
I
take
think
it.
if it was efficient and if it fit into the American way of life, I think more people would choose mass transit.
Look at all the money we spent on the highway system. Now this is for what? Millions and billions of dollars.
All those beautiful sound barriers.
Yeah, right?
That's another show.
True.
Is there any political opposition building toward a repeal of SCS 1700?
Yes, there is. Mostly Senator Dick LaRosa from Mercer County. Senator John Scott, which was one of the original signers of the bill, and then he realized he made a mistake, and he admitted as much. And Assemblyman Anthony Improviduto from Sea Caucus. They've been staunch allies on repealing this because they looked how ridiculous this is.
I believe there's a phase 3, which is reformulated fuels, and there's some problems involved in that too, right, guys?
Right, that would be with the MTBE. The MTBE itself, what happened was that they removed the lubricant, what's called benzene. Benzene used to take care of the lubricants for gaskets and seals so they wouldn't dry up. Now you have this gaskets and seals drying up right now that we're using this fuel, and this is what's going to cause vehicle fires at the inspection stations for now.
Has there been evidence in any other states that have tried to
Yes.
Yes.
introduce this? What has been the result of some of their pilot programs?
Well, some of the testing over at, like maybe Colorado or another particular other state would have their car onto this dynamometer. Supposedly it was restrained properly, but it wasn't. Cars would be shooting right through walls. Vehicle fires did occasionally come up. So it's a very dangerous system.
Is the operator in your car on this machine with his foot on the accelerator?
Right, they
All
have to
this
keep it
is-
at a certain pace, between 1 or 2 miles.
Otherwise, the test becomes invalid.
Right, and then they have to start all
follow
over.
a curve. And now imagine this car on this dynamometer, 55 miles an hour. Now, they've had problems with cars. They can't do it when it's wet, rainy, or snow because it slips, and they get invalid test, or the car goes right off the dyno.
But the test here in Jersey, ASM 5015, the speed on that they're going to be using is up to 15 miles an hour.
Because we all drive 15 miles an hour on the roads.
Real world conditions.
Yes, yes. Well, how can people get a little bit more information? I know there's how many pages is SCS 1700? It's about 30
32.
pages.
About 32.
And if people would like to, I know it sounds almost incredible, but if you'd like a free copy, you can get a copy of SCS 1700 by calling the New Jersey Legislative Services at 1-800-792-8630. And you could read for yourself on what they have planned for us.
But that, you understand now, that is not the worst, and that is not the only. They have other bills in the hopper now. Bill number 1352, a scrappage bill, which would start voluntarily scrapping cars for $700. Just recently in Arizona, they did the same thing, and now they're up to, they'll give you $1,500 for a 2-year voucher for mass transit. If that isn't getting you out of your car, I don't know what is. Or they'll give you a voucher for $1,000 towards the purchase price of a new vehicle. So they're selling cars, they're leasing cars, but they're not allowing us to keep our older cars. And this affects the senior citizens tremendously. It affects the single mothers. It affects car people like us, collectors or antique cars, people who have kind of waited their whole life to enjoy this hobby, and now they want to take it away from us.
Well, when we get back, we're gonna talk about some of how this affects some of the classic cars,
Okay.
and the history of the American automobile, and we'll also take a look at the Wayne station,
Please.
the Wayne inspection station, and a little bit of Senator Dick LaRosa. But please stay with us with Dick DeZuzio, Butch DeZuzio, and Rich Demansky from the Classic Vehicle Car Advocate. Stay with us.
All right. I said now, less than 25% of all of the air pollution in New Jersey comes from cars. Yes or no? After several minutes of tap dancing, I suggested they stop talking like lawyers and answer the question. All right. The response was yes. less than 25% of all of the air pollution in New Jersey comes from cars. I then asked the following question. If we were to turn off all of the gasoline-powered internal combustion engines in New Jersey for an entire year, would New Jersey's air then be in compliance with federal clean air standards? Remember, that's every internal combustion gasoline-powered engine for a year. Would our air be in compliance? Very good. Better than they were. All right, and I then said, but you don't ask questions you don't know the answer to when you're in these hearings, okay? I then said, well, if less than 25% of all of the air pollution in New Jersey comes from cars, and our air would not be in compliance even if we turned off all of the gasoline engines for a year, then why do you want the state of New Jersey to spend hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to install an inspection system that at best will address maybe a quarter of the problem, at least 75% of the problem alone? It's been rejected or repealed in every other state that has initiated it and provides absolutely no clinical, statistical, or empirical evidence that it works, let alone that it will have any impact on New Jersey's air quality. Be careful. If New Jersey does not comply with this waiver system and with this inspection system, not only would we stand to lose federal highway funds, but we would be sanctioned by having federal permits withheld. In essence, we would be faced with zero expansion in New Jersey and unable to build anything that requires any kind of federal permit. There would be no roads, no factories, no industrial expansion, and in effect, no future for not only New Jersey, but any state that does not yield to what I consider to be this brand of federal extortion. That's what the E stands for. We will return to an economy that must be roughly akin to the worst depression in history. The 14th Amendment states in part, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The following is the content of a Chevron gasoline RFG warning label which appears on their gas pumps. And it says, warning for owners of older or higher mileage vehicles. Does that apply to anybody in this room? Just making sure. It says, by 1/1/95, all gasoline sold in this area must meet federal reformulated RFG specifications. RFG, this is still a warning label now, RFG may cause a very small percentage of older or high mileage vehicles to have fuel system leaks which may cause vehicle fires. That's the warning label on the gas tank. Now, this is the tie-in to my earlier statement that the use of either the IM 240 or the ASM 5015 will cause somebody to die. One of the components in gasoline, and again, forgive me for being a little simplistic because you guys are way ahead of me on this, but bear with me if I may, that's removed or dramatically reduced when you use MTBE is benzene. Benzene is a lubricant. Basically keeps gaskets and seals from drying out. When you remove a reduced level of benzene, the gaskets and seals develop hairline fractures and pinhole leaks, which can spray raw fuel over a hot manifold, which then ignites, causes the engine compartment, the fire that was mentioned in the warning label, and when you use it with the IM system, it's deadly. Because part of the IM system requires the vehicle to have the drive axle placed on a dynamometer.
Welcome back to the program. We're here with Butch DeZuzio and Rich Demansky from the Classic Vehicle Advocate Group. I'm sure both of you guys have owned classic cars for a while.
Yes, we did. And we always have.
What are your pride and joys?
Good.
Mine is a 1940 Ford Business Coupe with a Corvette 350 engine in it. Nice orange and nice flamed.
What about you, Rich?
Mine's a stock 1956 Pontiac Starchief 4-door Catalina.
Nice. So you guys put in some investment money into this, and
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of hours
love.
yeah. So what happens to private property rights? What's this I've heard about quasi-public property? Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Sure. Quasi-public property itself, what it stated in the bill, originally when they first came out with, was when the property, your property, say your driveway, your residential driveway, becomes state. What they're saying is that, say, a police officer is allowed to just walk on your property and just confiscate your car, take away your car itself. To what right now has been repealed, only what I've seen was from the New Jersey DEP, saying that they are not saying that quasi-public property is going to be residential driveways. But I haven't seen any kind of paperwork from the DOT or DMV stating the same thing.
So it seems that they're going to get their way.
Yes.
Right.
No matter what, they're going to get their way.
And in this country, we do have a history of property rights. What happened to property rights?
There's been many cases that can argue that,
Yes.
and that you did have them.
That's right.
Okay, so we have some videotape of the Wayne dynamometer, and let's take a little spin here, and let's take a look at the Wayne inspection station.
And clamps the hose leading to the fuel tank. The next step is for the inspector to pressurize the gas cap to detect for leaks. The vehicle is next placed on a dynamometer, which is basically two rollers that allow the wheels of the vehicle to turn without the vehicle moving. An automatic restraint system is used to secure the vehicle. For the test to be valid, the driver must keep the vehicle within plus or minus 2 miles per hour of the curve.
Boy, that was some little inside view there. I can see that we'll all have lots of fun meeting new friends in the line for inspections. How do you guys get your message out? You guys are on a speaking tour now, and you've been on 101.5.
Right.
How do you get out to your members here, and how are you mobilizing support for this?
Okay, what we've been trying to do, especially on 101.5, is we actually we pronounce ourselves as a classic vehicle advocate group, and we are looking for interesting people that are actually concerned about their vehicle rights, their freedoms of mobility, if they're using their vehicles. And we just ask them if you can please give us a call at area code 201-881-8838. And that way we can set up an open public meeting. We'll show the actual short video presentation of Dick LaRosa actually telling us the dangers involved with the inspection test, with the combination of MTBE. Also, we will show you the actual New Jersey DMV's inspection test, which is called the ASM 5015.
And we're available to go at any place in New Jersey at any time with a little notice. We'll speak anywhere because it's that important to educate the public. Because we know once the New Jersey citizens are aware of what's going on, they're not going to stand for it. And if they're not willing to learn, they're going to learn the hard way when it comes down through the DMV.
Well, it seems that the information that you guys had furnished me with, it looks like Hughes, General Motors, or whoever involved in this wants you to turn, if you can afford to drive a car
At all.
at all, to turn it over in 4 and 5 years. That to me sounds like a managed economy.
Yes, it does.
And how does one manage an economy like the automotive industry? What about the guys that are selling parts now? The guys who are fixing cars now? Are these guys all out of work?
Basically, yes, because not only are they managing the economy, don't forget there was planned obsolescence before this, and that didn't work out real well because the cars basically were built better and they lasted longer. But that's true. The parts business, the used car dealers are going to be in trouble. But remember, the factories do not really want to fix cars or sell parts. They want to sell cars and lease cars. They don't care what happens to the aftermarket.
If you lease or buy a new car every 4 years, aren't we going to have a lot of other car carcasses piling up, whether they're crunched down or?
Well, they'll be crunched down, but they're being sold to Japan and stuff as scrap metal.
Right.
And they love to have that metal. It's going out every day out of Port Newark and all over the ports.
They're just
So
turning
they're-
over the fleet.
They're recycling.
Exactly.
How much energy does it take to recycle
Much
a crushed
more.
car?
Takes much more to build a new car than it does for us to rebuild our old cars. It's a waste of raw energy, raw materials.
Natural resources.
Exactly.
Natural
We are
resources.
basically the real environmentalists and the real recyclers. We really are, because we started it by working on our old cars, because we don't buy a new car every couple of years. We work on what we have.
This is really something. Each year goes by, and we're another year closer.
Yes.
How close are we getting to the to D-Day.
D-Day being the denial of registration, January 1st, 98. D-Day being the day when most of all the old cars will be off the road, maximum 5 to 10 years, maximum.
They're going to charge us more for vehicle registration?
Not only more for that, more at the pump, more insurance or denial of insurance. Insurance companies now have the 2-for-1 rule. For every car they insure, every 2 cars they insure, they can refuse to insure one for no reason. And 99% of the time, it's because it's an old car. Remote sensing will do some of it. Volunteer giving up the car for scrappage. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Fellows, we're just about out of time here. Again, if you want to give your website, everybody's got a website now?
Yes, our website is http / cybernex.net. I'm sorry, can we do this again?
Quickly.
Okay. http / www.cybernexnet.tilde-advocate. Or you can email us at advocate@cybernexnet.
Boy, it was so much easier with like an area code and a phone number.
Those days have changed.
Life
Well,
was
listen,
simple.
Yes, it was. Well, Butch DeZuzio and Rich Demansky are the president and vice president, respectively, of the Classic Vehicle Advocate. And thank you for coming and sharing what you know about this. And I hope we can all drive our cars cleaner, freer, and freer to the next gas pump. I want to thank you both for coming
Thank you.
down.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Al,
For the
for
work
having
you
us.
do.
Thank you.
You ready to go home now? You sure gave us quite a scare, young lady. I don't know how to thank you, Doctor. You already did, by getting Susie the Medical Alert bracelet. It told us of Susie's allergies and helped us provide the right treatment fast. If you have allergies or take medications, call Medical Alert. It could save your life. Call now for free information.
Welcome back to the program. Our next guest contacted the Oaklander after seeing How Safe Is Our Water on our February show. Dr. Michael Torsiello is a resident in Franklin Lakes and is a member of the 40 Horsemen Riding Club in Mahwah. He is with us tonight to talk about conditions on the Ramapo River called the Mary Patrick Wetland Site. As a result of construction of Route 287, the Army Corps of Engineers and the New Jersey Department of Transportation are trying to determine if the project is in fact complete. Their indecision has left the land and the river in a dismal state of abandonment. Thank you for being on our show, Dr. Torsiello.
Thank you very much.
How long have you been a member of the 40 Horsemen Riding Club in Mahwah?
I've been riding up at the stable for approximately 10 to 11 years.
And well, why is the area called the Mary Patrick Wetland Site?
The Mary Patrick Wetland Site was the name comes from the original owner of the property. The property was an estate owned by Mary Patrick family, and throughout the course of time, it had eventually become purchased by the owner of, or the family of the owner of the stable, the Dater family, who subsequently, I believe, sold it to Mahwah, and that's how it became part of the mitigation project.
And this is now known as the Maripo Farms.
This is Maripo Farms, that's correct.
Anybody who has driven down Route 202 has passed it on many, many occasions. Everybody can see the horses there. How many people comprise the 40 Horsemen Riding Club?
Well, we have approximately 40 people who have their own horses. It's a private riding area, and because of the owner's affiliation with the property prior to his giving it to Mahwah, we maintained equestrian rights to that particular area, so that whatever was going to be done to that project, we would be able to utilize that with our horses.
I see. So basically, what has transpired as the construction came and went on Route 287? What an effect did that have to the Mary Patrick wetland site?
Well, the property originally was a natural wetland area. With the formation of 287, the state or the Department of Transportation had to reroute a portion of the Ramapo River. In doing so, they had encroached upon some of the wetland area and had to return it back to the state as according to the Wetlands Protection Act. So they were forced to give that property back as a wetlands or reconstruct the wetlands from the properties that they took.
And that's what they had done. They had tried to recreate a wetland?
That's what the project was intended to do. On December 21st, 1987, they obtained a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers and the New Jersey Department of Transportation proceeded to utilize that area as a construction site for a wetlands project. Initially, the project was started by removing the original lake, cutting down the trees, and then what they proceeded to do was have an excavation on the site to determine whether there were any artifacts. I think some artifacts were found. I believe a trading post and some remains were sent to the Trenton Museum. And subsequent to that, they went in with a crew and they proceeded to redo a brand new lake, 2 surrounding lakes, and they had completed the project in 1994, or stated that they completed the project